Welcome to the virtual launch event for the HPE 5G Lab. Located in Fort Collins, Colorado, the HPE 5G Lab provides a standards-based environment for testing, validation and proof of concept demonstrations of multi-vendor 5G solutions, a neutral proving ground for independent solutions providers. To mark the virtual opening of the HPE 5G Lab, we are hosting two special panel discussions, bringing together HPE executives and their partner companies. And you can get involved too. Please send in your own questions to our guests. There's a form here on the HPE channel on the Telecom TV website. And we'll be back to continue the discussion in the coming weeks when we look forward to answering your additional questions. Now though, joining us for our second panel discussion, I am delighted to introduce Richard Band, who is Head of 5G Core at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, Niall Byrne, VP Network Strategy at Openet, and Shov Agarwal, SVP of 5G Core at Metaswitch. Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard, could you first give us some background? What is HPE's approach to the 5G core network?
Yes, certainly. So we at HPE have been in core networks for about 30 years now. Historically, we've been providing HLR, HSS solutions to some of the largest carriers in the world. In 5G, we quickly recognized when we looked at 5G, we decided that time is right now for a different approach to building 5G networks. The service-based architecture was pointing us into a direction of something that is much more cloud native, much closer to IT. And this is what historically we've been doing at HPE, is to take IT tools and technologies and bring them into the telco world. So this was something that resonated a lot with us, and we decided to fully embrace a cloud native and open approach, using open source wherever possible, and to get as many of the IT specific, IT general capabilities into the telco world. We also recognize that it was important to work with partners that have a like-minded approach to cloud native and the use of open source, and work with them upfront to integrate the solutions before we bring them to the telco operators. Back in March of this year, we launched the HPE 5G Core Stack, which is exactly doing this. And now, at this point in time, we're launching the HPE 5G Lab to further advance the possibilities of doing a multi-vendor and open network in 5G.
Richard, we're going to come back and talk about some of those points shortly, but let's see the views of your partners first. Niall, let's turn to Openet. How important is Open 5G to the industry?
To Openet, it was a key move in the industry, because we have, over the last 3 years, through our CTO organization, engineering group and product management teams, we have been focused on re-engineering our policy and charging products to produce cloud-native service-based architecture, very similar, obviously, to the HPE approach. And that has meant that we have now products that are containerized. They sit. We can deliver microservices off of each of the different network functions. And it allows us to deliver a truly cloud-native platform that can sit with both private and public cloud platforms, integrate into their PaaS, and opens up a huge market in terms of where and what we can deliver, and then into what verticals. And I think that's key to what we've done, and to where certainly we want to go in terms of our innovation and the future of what we see as the open 5G core.
And Shov, what's Metaswitch's view? Because I know you've been doing some great work on containerized network functions.
Yes, we think 5G, open 5G is essential or actually critical for delivering the promise of 5G. We talk about digitization, not just providing better and faster experiences to consumers, but providing a new set of capabilities for enterprises to manage all the data that they're collecting and using in their AI engines in real time to make decisions to derive better business outcomes. So for us, in order to achieve these outcomes, it is absolutely critical for us to have an open ecosystem, an open supply chain, so that enterprises have the choices to procure these networks from a wide set of vendors with different choices and flexibility that they deserve. Some seek small systems at a very quick pace versus some need very high scale networks. So unless you have an open ecosystem of vendors working together, providing an open supply chain, I don't think 5G can deliver its promise. So we think it's absolutely critical to have an open multi-vendor environment to deliver 5G.
Richard, we just heard from Shov and Niall there about the importance of open 5G and creating this open ecosystem. Why do you think this industry needs to move towards a more open software-based model for 5G?
So I think in the end it's fundamental to address two of the main challenges that this industry has. One is we absolutely need to find a way to innovate faster. The way I look at it is in 4G, we as an industry invested a lot and brought a lot of capabilities to customers, but the majority of the value that was being captured was not captured by the telecom industry, but was captured by the over-the-tops. That battle is gone, but now that we're moving to 5G, we're thinking about how do enterprise take advantage of 5G, and it's clear that the only way that the industry is going to be successful is if we learn to innovate faster, and if we learn to adapt the networks to the specifics of specific industry verticals. So we need a faster way to innovate, and at the same time, there's huge pressure on cost. And so the way forward for us seems obvious is adopt more of the IT tools and technologies that have made the over-the-top successful, speed up the innovation by opening up the ecosystem, allowing you to play with different partners depending on the area. There's no way that a single company, as big and as competitive as they may be, has the answers for all the industries that the telecom will have to address. So we believe that in order to be successful, telecom operators will need to be able to bring in various partners depending on the needs and be able to, in the blink of an eye, make changes to the network. And the only way to do that is to adopt cloud-native principles. Why? Because cloud-native gives them a degree of automation and an ability to implement changes at a microservice or at a network function level, which is completely different from what we've used to do in telecommunications. We used to have this heavy lift and shift once every 2 years kind of upgrades. We need to move away from that. We need to make much more frequent updates, much more targeted updates, and we need to have the ability to do so without increasing the cost level of the operators. And the only way to do that is through a high degree of automation. So we need a different architecture and a different way of working in order to address the two main challenges, which is cost and innovation.
Going hand in hand with this is the testing. Telcos need to make sure that what they are bringing into their networks works, not only what they've already got, but works with other vendors' equipment. Shov, why do we need this multi-vendor interoperability testing rather than just simply individual testing against the standards?
So I want to actually expand on from a customer perspective, right? So telcos are not the only consumers of 5G anymore. So we have to consider that the consumer of the 5G network is actually going to be enterprises and telcos. And there's going to be a whole bunch of players in the middle, whether they're application developers, platform providers, enterprise resellers, telco themselves may resell some solutions, cloud providers who will participate in this new 5G ecosystem from either serving their enterprise customers directly or creating applications, creating verticals. And like Richard mentioned, right, one of the critical points is that they all will, once the demand is there for an application running on 5G, speed is absolutely important. And in order to deliver those applications, there will be different components that need to be brought together, whether it's database, whether it's cloud infrastructure. So essentially, to Richard's point, and I want to double down on that, is the fact that you need that flexibility and to be able to build these solutions that are not just for telcos and serving the consumer. Sure, there's an aspect of that, but there's a whole new breed of applications and verticals and enterprises who will consume these networks differently. And again, to Richard's point, it's not about one or two vendors serving these markets. You have to have flexibility in the supply chain in order for these new consumers, whether it's enterprises or resellers or system integrators, to put this together based on their requirements. And these will be variable based on different verticals, different scale, different deployment models, different support models. So absolutely, the vendor selection and the capability for these components to work out of the box is an essential component for 5G.
So, Richard, just want to pick up on what Shubh just said?
Yeah, certainly, I would like so. I fully agree with all the statements made by Shubh. I think also at the technical level, there is something that is fundamentally different from what we used to do in telecommunication. Telecommunication in the past, when we talked about multi-vendor, we had a number of vendors, each one with its own black box, implementing a set of 3GPP-specific interfaces, and that was it. And so interoperability testing was just making sure that we were all following the same standards. What we are seeing in the operability testing that we have been doing so far, for instance, with Openet and Samsung, is that there is a degree of integration that is possible because we have adopted a similar set of fundamental building blocks coming from the IT industry, the open source, what we call platform as a service, gives us the possibility to do an integration that goes inside the black boxes, that allows us to integrate specifically on the non-functional aspects. And this is something that historically we could not do. But by doing so, we're capable of providing a solution to the operators that feels and looks and feels much more like a single solution than anything that we were capable of doing before. And the non-functionals here are really important. So to give you a concrete example, end-to-end tracing. So now we have the possibility, using the open source componentry, to show a call coming in on one network function from, say, Samsung, going to the HPE UDM, and then going on to, I don't know, a charging function from Openet, and back again, and you can actually follow the call end-to-end across all of these network functions, which is a huge benefit for network operators. And this is true for many of the other non-functional requirements and non-functional capabilities that comprise a solution. And this is one of the real beauties and the benefits of going cloud native.
Great. And Niall, picking up on what Richard's said about some of the collaboration work your two companies have been doing, is this integration work a far greater challenge than it's been in the past?
No, this has been the revelation of 5G openness. We're all operating off the same flavors of Kubernetes, running on the same sort of PaaS environment, using the same PaaS tooling, and that has allowed us to define and roll out the network slicing capability and to be able to demo that, and that has been hugely for the work we've done with HPE and Samsung. The ability to have a lab that can demonstrate all the capabilities end to end of the 5G dream, and to be able to deliver on that with the non-functional, the operational aspects, and how the actual end customer is going to manage this network. This has been hugely beneficial, and our ability to roll out demos, trials, test cases in different labs is all based on the fact that we have a software image that we can roll out that will run in all the various environments and can be easily integrated into an OpenStack, OpenShift type world where required with minimum integration. And what's been very interesting has been the number of integrations we've done and all based on 3GPP standards. But what this ability to test end-to-end has shown in our lab environments, which is key prior to ever hitting the consumer environment, is that we have discovered lots of different tweaks and issues in relation to integration with different types of network function that, based on different test strategies from different partners, we've been able to identify from an early stage, and it really is producing quality end-to-end, best of breed in a best of suite type environment. And I think that's where this is really unique, and the potential here is massive for the industry.
Sure. I'm sure a lot of the work we've been doing so far, and that we will continue to see doing at the lab, is a result of us basing our work on established cloud native methodologies and practices. Niall just mentioned the work building on Kubernetes, and that seems to have got broad agreement from the three of you. Is it important that we do adhere to these cloud native technologies and principles?
We have been one of the leading proponents of cloud native for the last 5 years. We have applied those principles to our software on the voice networking side, and we are now able to deliver containerized solutions for data core also. Now, we obviously talk about the speed of innovation, cloud infrastructures, and disaggregation that brings benefits to both telcos and enterprises. But in order for this to work, cloud native has become an essential technology or a framework in which these softwares need to be delivered. If you don't have a cloud native software, you cannot deliver these outcomes, whether it's speed of innovation or cost savings over any cloud infrastructure. So we absolutely have committed to the cloud native since 5 years for all our products. And in the data core, in the 5G core especially, we have essentially built the only 100% containerized 5G core in the industry, which our customers are telling us is extremely critical for them to deliver not just the performance, but the operability of the network. So one of the benefits of containerization and Kubernetes, and why we are standardizing on this, is to deliver the automation, the lifecycle automation that Kubernetes enables, so that the operations becomes cheaper and simpler. So absolutely, containers and cloud natives is essential for the future of 5G and for 5G to deliver the promise in terms of across both telcos and enterprises.
Richard, collaboration is so very important, and we're all of us partners, we're all innovating. Ultimately, what new applications and workloads do you think that we could expect to see as a result of the collaboration that's going into HPE's 5G lab?
Right. So this is, of course, the $1 million, probably even $1 billion question. It's clear from the beginning that the monetization of 5G is going to lead through the enterprise, and is going to be by changing the fundamental business processes of the enterprise. And I think we recognize that today we're still in very early stages in the industry. Even the mass market commercial deployments, they're just starting now. From our side, for instance, we're in the middle of a deployment for the first nationwide carrier in the US to roll out a 5G core, or our elements of the 5G core. And this will be live only by the end of this year. So we're still in very early stages. What we are seeing is a lot of discussion about 5G versus Wi-Fi. I think this is an incorrect opposition. In reality, there's a huge ecosystem for Wi-Fi. There will be an ecosystem for 5G, and there will be a need for both. So part of the focus of the lab will be about how do we enable the collaboration between the two technologies to give enterprise something that really matches their connectivity needs. And then the question is going to be, okay, so what are they going to be doing on top? And the reality is, I don't know at this stage. I have to be honest. This is part of the things that we're trying to explore by giving these capabilities. On the one hand, we're reaching out to application partners to come into the lab and help us demonstrate these capabilities. On the other hand, we are also seeing the first lab trials in enterprise with some of our, either directly to enterprise or with some of the telecom operators. And the reality is we need as an industry to learn to work together with industry vertical partners that allow us to identify and understand how we're going to be making a success out of 5G and give the business outcomes that the enterprise are expecting from the investment into 5G. And this is not just a telecommunications question. This is a question for the broader industry, the broader economy.
Indeed. Thanks, Richard. And Niall, what about you? What new applications might you expect to see as a result of all this collaboration?
I think one of the key ones for us is the Openet focuses always on control and monetization. And what we're seeing is with the ability of a slice-based approach, the ability now is there to enable multiple different types of industry, enterprise, IoT, by being able to deliver varying KPIs, varying latency models, varying throughput models, quality models, and all of these new capabilities that can be deployed rapidly through blueprinted slice mechanisms is going to enable us the ability to roll out these new services. If you look at a gaming service where the key thing is low latency, high QoS, and the CSP then can monetize on that through an upsell and charge per the service they're delivering. Similarly, for any type of low latency type solution, the positioning of where it can go, does it go on the edge? Is it a MEC-based solution, service? All of the different types of deployment strategies for slice, for 5G core, allows for different types of control monetization and different types of use case that can be realized. So, I think the potential for application developers, as Richard said, coming in and supplying a whole new set of service type capability is going to be hugely important. That firstly they do come, and secondly that the infrastructure is there to support that, which we all do believe is exactly where this is going. And enterprise, as Shub said as well, is going to be key for this 5G revolution.
Thanks. And Shub, what new workloads and applications do you hope to see as a result of this collaboration?
So we are actually seeing a very broad range of engagements for different applications. So let me give you some insights. We are approximately seeing 50% interest from service providers for traditional connectivity, broadband connectivity, mobility applications. And then 50% of the applications are focused on enterprise use cases. So let's begin with the mobility side, right? So on the mobility side, we have been engaged with our customers, service provider customers, for the last 2 years on 5G. And their thinking about the applications around 5G has evolved from a simple 4G to 5G evolution cycle, which they're used to a much more thoughtful business model around delivering higher performance, lower latency applications, right? So Niall shared insights about how policy and charging plays into the 5G slicing capability to deliver those services. But from our perspective, we are looking at deploying 5G core on edge infrastructures, whether it's built by the operators themselves or built by third parties like cloud service providers. So there's a huge, massive shift towards network architectures or deployment architectures that are more edge-centric, or what we call edge-first, to deliver these new capabilities for anything from consumer gaming to media delivery to new enterprise applications. Now, on the enterprise side, the use cases are much more broader, right? We are engaged with enterprises looking to automate their industry floors. We are talking to defense departments to help them with logistics at a much more local level or wherever they are. We are talking to smart farm system integrators who are creating small networks to monitor farms to increase crop yields. We are talking to a whole range of different enterprises with their own needs, which excites me a lot because I'm actually looking forward to enabling these use cases. And frankly, right, means we are not the ones. We are just a network component provider. Our job is to simplify the consumption of the network, right? Because these application developers, these enterprise system integrators, or even service providers need to focus on the business outcome that they need to deliver. So a service provider will want to talk about how do they deliver a fundamentally new high-performance network and focus on the value of the network, versus we need to help them solve the problem of how do I deliver my network across massive edge infrastructures, right, with simplicity, which is where Richard mentioned before, right? It's not just about doing 3GPP interop testing. What the lab enables us to do is make sure that we are able to use the same Kubernetes or container frameworks to deliver these networks very quickly and work right out of the box, right? So the applications are definitely driving the need for consuming the 5G network. And just to conclude from our perspective, Open 5G Lab helps us make the network consumption very easy and straightforward.
Thank you, Shiv, Niall and Richard. Thank you all very much for joining us on the programme today. And don't forget to watch our earlier panel discussion. HPE CMS Chief Technology Officer Jeff Edland was joined there by partners Red Hat, Affirmed Networks and Casa Systems. And as we've already mentioned, we also want to hear from you. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask our panelists, then please do so now. The question form and accompanying poll is accessible on the HPE channel on Telecom TV, along with links to supporting material and further content. Send in your questions and we'll be back in the next week or so to continue the discussion. But for now, thank you for watching and goodbye.